Hello everybody, this is SnipingIsFun, and in this video I'm bringing you all today. It's going to be my official 2013 Super Smash Bros. 4 roster video. I know over the year I basically have done slight updates, like video wise, like before E3, or where my roster currently is somewhere after E3, or something like that. But over the last couple of years, since like 2010, I've always done like an official roster update of that year. And unlike the last 2 years, especially last year, where I basically talked about, I started off like 5-6 minutes, more so last year, a little too much last year, sorry about that, talking about where my ideas were coming from, and then I would transfer over to like a picture of my roster with music playing, and then that would go into like short, like a slideshow of different pictures of why I chose certain characters. I'm going to do it very simple this year. You're going to see the roster up on the screen. You're hearing me talking right now. I probably will have some music in the background somewhere. And I'm just going to talk as you look at my roster and give you the reasons for why I have certain characters, or why I chose certain characters, or why certain characters are there. And that's what I want to do this year. I don't want to go and be too excessive like I did, especially last year. I overdid my talking part at the beginning last year, and I am sorry about that. But this is going to be my official 2013 roster. I'm going to start talking over it, and let's begin. As you can see on the roster right now, I do have 48 characters total, which has been practically the number I've been pretty consistent with over the last couple of years. It's been between that, and it's namely been between 45 and 48, and I'm assuming one of my past rosters probably had an official roster that was 50, and I have had rosters like that before, but I do think within the 45 to 48, especially the 48 number, I think is a good number. It's a good upgrade from Brawl. Brawl had like 37 people, 36 people, when you count double characters. So, and then the first game had like 12, and Melee had like 26 or 27. So it's kind of a good upgrade. We're in the 40s now, for the 4th Smash Bros. Game, and I think mid to high 40s works best for that, because then you get an adequate amount of veterans coming back and a good amount of newcomers. So it's a best of both worlds type scenario. Okay, we're going to talk about the first newcomer. I'm going to start from the top and go down. The first newcomer you could see, and the reason why I waited till I waited a little while to actually, I was holding off on doing this video because I was hoping that we should have expected, by the end of the year there was going to be some kind of update and some newcomer or some character was going to be shown off. So the main reason I held off was like that purpose, and then I was like, I'm not going to wait off like last year where I waited till the end of the year and did it on like New Year's Eve kind of thing. I'm going to do it now in December, before Christmas. But I was holding off a little bit so I could see is anyone else going to be announced before the end of the year, so I don't go and make a roster update and then the next day it's like outdated because someone was announced that I didn't have in my roster. And good thing I waited, because a last minute change I had to make. If you're seeing right now, Rosalina earlier today was announced through the December 18th Nintendo Direct to be playable in Smash Brothers. Before that actually came about, the character I still had in that spot was Bowser Jr., which I had him in there because I thought, reoccurring villain status, he was going to be a good choice. Rosalina is now announced, and she does have a lot of, I can see why she's practically the playable character, the next Mario newcomer. Ever since, the Mario Galaxy games, like, she had an important role in both Mario Galaxy games. She's in she was in Mario Kart Wii, she's going to be in Mario Kart 8, and she was in all these other little side games on the side. She's actually becoming a very important character in the Smash Bros. And for Smash Brothers to be put in that game, in the Mario universe and the Nintendo universe in general. Ever since she came in, she's becoming quite popular. I could see why they added her in, and she does have quite a unique moveset, like her and Luma. So it's kind of like an Ice Climbers type of, it's mainly her, but Luma's in her moveset quite a bit, so it's kind of like an Ice Climbers type, like scenario we've got going here. But I can see why she was in there. But yeah, now she's on the roster. I had to replace Bowser Jr. with her because because she was announced. So good thing I waited till today to do it. But Rosaline is the next Mario character, and that's because that's been confirmed. Now we're going to move over, and now we're in the Donkey Kong roster. DK and Diddy have already been announced. Same as, I didn't go and talk about them, but Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Bowser, all these characters have been announced already to be in Smash Bros. 4 to stay around. But I added a new Donkey Kong newcomer because the series is starting to really start coming back. During the Wii and DS generation, it was kind of slow a little bit. Jungle Climber and stuff like that on the DS and the Wii, but it was nothing really big. And then Donkey Kong Country Returns came back because Retro was making it. They brought the Donkey Kong Country Returns, and that was a big game. It brought Donkey Kong back to the spotlight, and now we're on the verge of seeing Donkey Kong Country. Tropical Freeze on the Wii U, and then Returns also got a 3DS version, and they're starting to really, because of Retro bringing this franchise back, Nintendo's really starting to push Donkey Kong a lot more. So I picked a newcomer for that franchise. I'm thinking that, okay, Donkey Kong's going to get another character this time. They got Diddy and Brawl. It's been DK for so long, and then Diddy came in Brawl. Now there's probably going to be another one. I don't think there's going to be any more than 3, but I picked Dixie Kong because of her history more with the series, and she was pretty important to bring. She was the first character they showed that they were bringing back for the, before Cranky Kong and all that got announced. Dixie was the first, okay, they're going to show her coming back. And she was a big character in the original trilogy, and now she's going to become a big character in Tropical Freeze. She's important, and it's another female rep, and she could have a unique moveset that would differ her from Diddy. I would think she's probably the best choice, at the moment for, the next Donkey Kong rep. Okay, then Samus is by herself again, because I don't really think there's anyone you can really add legitly to that spot. It would be Ridley more than likely, but the debates about his size and other various reasons, I didn't want to deal with that. And then other characters like Adam Malkovich and Anthony Higgs may or may not be good choices. I'm not going to deny them, but they're just not on my roster at this current moment. Yoshi's by itself again, and Wario the same thing. Alamar. Then we get to the Zelda roster, which, if you remember from my past rosters, I usually have had either Impa or Girahim or someone involved as a 5th spot, and I'm starting to think like, this time I just kept it, okay, we're going to keep the 4 from Brawl, and we're going to keep it like that. Link there, Zelda might be updated a little bit to be a little more Skyward Sword based, maybe a little more Ocarina of Time thrown in on Ganondorf, and Toon Link gets a little more base-made moveset designs or whatever from the DS games or whatever, I don't know. But this time I kept The Legend of Zelda being the same as Brawl, but on my possible backup roster, my possible choices I can still add to the roster. Girahim and Impa are still pretty high up on that list. So maybe in a future roster I might throw Girahim back in there or Impa back in there. But till then, right now for my 2013 roster, I'm just keeping the Zelda roster the same. And that's basically what I do with that. When it comes to Pikachu, when it comes to Pokemon, I kept, obviously Pikachu's announced, and Jigglypuff's part of the original 12, so I don't think she should be cut. And you see Pokemon Trainer's still there, Red, the Gen 1 trainer, and I replaced Lucario with Mewtwo. And now you might be wondering, oh, it's all Gen 1. Yes, I see that, and that is a problem I still technically have with my roster here. It's a little too Gen 1, but something else I could see with potentially these 4 choices you're seeing right now, Pikachu, Pokemon Trainer, Jigglypuff, and Mewtwo, is they could all draw quite a bit from X and Y. They're all Gen 1 characters, but they can have a big influence from X and Y from the 6th generation. Pikachu is a slimmer look and can take some more updated electric attacks. Jigglypuff can take on the fairy abilities. And Pokemon Trainer and Mewtwo can both have Mega Evolution based stuff like, Final Smashes or some kind of attack or something. And they're all popular and whatnot. And Mewtwo was pretty heavily requested to come back, and Mewtwo also had a big role in that latest movie with Genesect and whatnot, and the Mega Evolution is building up for X and Y. So I think Mewtwo has a good chance of coming back, and all the other generations will come through Pokeballs and stages and whatnot. So I for now, it's not a roster I'm entirely cool with, but it's pretty close. Okay, and after that we get to the Star Fox roster, which I cut down on Wolf, and I kept it Fox and Falco, so it's back to the way it was in Melee. I'm just thinking maybe a one-time thing, or it's not that big. Star Fox is not as big as it once was. Maybe for Smash Bros. 5, when Wii U and 3DS pushes the series, hopefully we can see another character or two in Smash Bros. 5, or we can even see DLC for Smash Bros. 4 if it was this roster. I'm just hypothetically saying for my roster here, but I just kept it Fox and Falco because they're like the big main characters, and I was just being simple there. Then we get to Kid Icarus, and I think since Kid Icarus came back as Sakurai, did Uprising on the 3DS, it's going to get another character. He says he doesn't like playing favorites with his franchise and his characters, but I think he's going to do it one for Kid Icarus, and I think Kid Icarus really does deserve it, and Palutena is my current choice at this point because of the history with the series, moveset potential, big role, especially in Uprising. You can go, and it's another female character. Wow. But I'm not even going to stay much on discussion for that. Kirby stays the same. There's nothing really you have to do with the Kirby roster. Fire Emblem roster, Ike stays, and we add Chroms. I really truly believe Fire Emblem deserves 3 characters this time. I think its popularity has, risen over this past generation, the Wii and DS, and into now 3DS and Wii U, that it deserves at least 3 at this time, because especially since Awakening really brought back the series. That's what I think. Chrom is the new main lead character, so I added him because he represents the biggest, newest Fire Emblem game, and he'd have his own unique moveset. Marth obviously has been announced, and he's the original, and on top of the fact that he did get updated to his DS looks, Shadow Dragon, here's Light and Shadow. And Ike has been updated to Radiant Dawn, you can see on the picture. I think that roster works fairly well at this time. Captain Falcon's obviously by himself this time. Maybe if F-Zero really gets a big game on 3DS or a big game on Wii U, we could see a DLC choice for them, or Smash Bros. 5 could have another character, but at this current moment, Captain Falcon's by himself. I think since Punch-Out was brought back on the Wii, and since Lil Mac's such a legendary character and a boxing moveset would be really unique and really different, and he is, like you say, he's popular and legendary, I add Lil Mac as one of the miscellaneous characters. Obviously, the Villager from Animal Crossing was announced at E3, so, and it's Animal Crossing's a really popular Nintendo franchise now, so I could see why he was added. Ness and Lucas didn't want to tamper with Mother. There's nothing really going on there, so I kept that the same. Then we get into a long line of like 5 more miscellaneous characters, because I really think there's a lot of Nintendo franchises that have yet to be added that I think Nintendo would want to represent more through Smash Brothers. So the first one here is Issa Joe. Sin Punishment made his return on the Wii, was localized. He's the newest hero. You could do a little bit more with him than you can with Saki. And he's my personal choice because I think there's more you could do with him, and I think there's more possibly for the future of this series with him. Shulk, Xenoblade was one of the bigger new IP franchises from Nintendo on the Wii. They acquired Monolith Soft, and it's one of their newer companies within Nintendo, and they're now making X. So I think Nintendo's really wanting to utilize Monolith Soft. They're really going to want to push them, and what's one better way of pushing this company than to put one of their characters in Smash Brothers? And I think Shulk, since I would pick Shulk because of its popularity in general for like a franchise that's not even really all that big. It had its decent popularity in Japan and Europe, and then America fought for it hard with Operation Rainfall, and generally the game is well liked. And there's a lot you could do with it. It's an RPG series, all his Shulk's moves, the Monado. I think that it's pretty self-explanatory for that. And then we get to Isaac. Matthew also, I want to say Isaac / Matthew, even though I have Isaac there, because it could be either of them, because they could pick the original hero, they could pick the newest hero that could pretty much be into, when Golden Sun finally makes the jump to 3DS, the future of the series, because I think Matthew's going to be more of a main character in the future, and I think it leads more towards what the company wants to do with them, what Camelot wants to really do, who do they really want to use, and on my roster I have adult Isaac from, Dark Dawn, because it's the more recent version of him. But they could go with Kid Isaac. They can go with a hybrid, like a young 20s. I don't know what they would do with Isaac, but I went with a more recent version because that's where he's currently at now. And it represents the recent game, but it takes the older hero kind of thing. And there's a lot. Golden Sun is for one of the more niche franchises for Nintendo, RPG-wise, whatnot. It has its own set of popularity, so I think it does deserve it. Then we get to the Wii Fit Trainer, which was announced back at E3 as well. The Wii series in general has a lot of popularity on the Wii. It really did make a lot of money. It really did become big. I can understand why the Wii Fit Trainer gets in, and she does have he, because remember the alternate costumes. It does have a very unique moveset. And then there's a second representation for the Wii series. And I brought the Mii back to my roster. They weren't on my roster for a while now. Throughout most of 2013, I did cut him out, or her out, it out. But I do think there's a pretty high chance that the Mii will be coming back to, the Mii will be put in because of its general popularity. People, like, the Miis are very popular. People can use their Miis. And I think that's one thing a lot of fans of Nintendo and fans of the Smash Bros. Series would actually really like. So, and there's a lot of stuff you could do with the Miis moveset-wise. So I think that's kind of the reason why they would put them in there. As for now we're down the bottom row finally after like 17 minutes. Ice Climbers, I would still stay in. Rob, Mr. Game Watch. That's the three retros that stay. If you haven't noticed that, Pit's not down there because Pit, since the Kid Icarus came back, it's now its own franchise. So that's why, Kid Icarus is separated now and Pit's no longer retro on this roster. And I have two new retro choices. I have Takamaru and Sheriff. I picked Takamaru because it seems like Nintendo's really starting to push that character. They have a liking for that character. It's a legendary NES franchise, from Murasame Castle, which wasn't localized, but the character has kind of seen a little bit of localization lately. He was playable in Samurai Warriors 3 on the Wii. He did make a cameo in Captain Rainbow, and it seems like, and they did put one of his mini games based on mini game off of him in Nintendo Land of his game. So I think Takamaru is kind of getting a little pushed by Nintendo, so that's the reason why they would probably pick him. As for Sheriff, like I've stated before, it's a legendary Nintendo character from like the 70s, I think 79. It represents the arcade, and it's the days before Mario and Donkey Kong, before Jumpman and Donkey Kong and whatnot. So I think they could really utilize Sheriff, and Sakurai did say he wanted some older characters in there. And I think Sheriff and Takamaru are pretty good fits for that, actually. Then, of course, Mega Man. Oh my gosh, he's finally in. Was announced back at E3. And he's a legendary Nintendo character. He's a legendary character for Nintendo platforms. I can see why they have him. Sonic obviously comes back because of his popularity in general, the history with Nintendo being Sega, the rivalry between Nintendo and Sega, how popular he's been on Nintendo lately with various games, Wii, DS, 3DS, Wii U. I can see why for him. Now we get to the final character on my roster, and the last third-party character I wanted to add. And for the longest time, I actually had Pac-Man in this spot, and the obvious reason was, Namco's making the game legendary hero character, that stuff. It's like, it works and all, but I put Simon Belmont in this roster because Castlevania series has so much history with Nintendo, even more so than some franchises. And that's why I would say I picked Simon Belmont over, returning Snake, because unlike Snake and Metal Gear Solid, who's hardly ever with Nintendo, Castlevania is almost always with Nintendo. It's not as big on there now as it was back like in the NES, Super Nintendo, N64, Game Boy Advance, whatever days. But it still has its popularity here and there. And there was Mirrors of Fate, Lords of Sail and Mirrors of Fate on the 3DS, which was a pretty big push from Konami, I think, for the 3DS, and we could very well be seeing the series one day return to Nintendo home consoles. And I just picked him because of his general popularity with, Nintendo platforms, Castlevania's general popularity with Nintendo platforms. And that's essentially my roster. I basically have, let's see how many newcomers I have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 newcomers, which pretty good number, I would say. I didn't count Mewtwo in that because I would say Mewtwo's a returning veteran. But if you want to count Mewtwo, it's 16. I think that's a fairly decent newcomer list, and I think I balanced the rosters out, like, the various franchises out a little, pretty good there, I believe. And that's basically what my roster is right now for 2013, like the end of 2013, my official 2013 roster, and basically reasons for why I chose certain characters or why certain characters are there now, and that's it. And I'm sorry I've basically taken over 21 minutes here to talk. If you guys have honestly stayed here through this video this entire time, I commend you, and I thank you for actually sticking around this long. I'm sorry it took this long to actually talk. But I just need to go into finalizing my roster and talking about, why I have my choices. And if you guys want to rate this video in the comment section, talk about what you agree with, disagree with, whatever you want. I'm looking forward to seeing those comments. I'm SnipingIsFun. Thanks for watching my video. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to, and have a nice day. See you guys later.